Hi everyone. Today's topic is about GMOs, genetically modified foods. And I decided to do this video because where I live, there is actually a Monsanto right here in Hartsville, South Carolina. And for several years, I've known about GMOs and Monsanto and the controversy surrounding it. And I do believe that there is a huge link to GMOs and neurological disorders that we have today, because I do believe that GMOs are neurotoxins that destroy nerve endings and our brains, our spines, our nerves, and cause all of these different disorders and diseases. The definition of genetically modified is genetically modified organisms can be defined as organisms in which the genetic material, which is the DNA, has been altered in a way that does not occur naturally by mating or natural recombination. Genetically modified foods, also known as genetically engineered foods or bioengineered foods, are foods produced from organisms that have had changes introduced into their DNA using the methods of genetic engineering. And what I'm noticing most recently is a lot of food labels and labels on orange juice or different foods have non-GMO. And I guess because since President Obama signed the Monsanto House bill, siding with them that they did not have to label their products as GMO, but instead would only have to use some kind of a code. If I can find that. So rather than using a code that would just, or rather than just using a label stating that you are GMO, they would be allowed to use a QR code, or a 1-800 number and other difficult to access technology to label food products that contain GMOs instead of clear on-package text. So I don't know if that means like the companies who decided to put non-GMO on their packaging, I don't know if they are actually truly non-GMO, or if based on the loose, basically the guidelines, the labeling guidelines that Obama signed over, causing, as they say, according to the FDA, said that the bill's narrow and ambiguous definition of bioengineering would likely mean that many foods from GE sources will not be subject to this bill, and that it may be difficult for any GMO food to qualify for labeling under the bill. So even though they may be genetically modified or engineered, because of the loose definition of what a GMO is, they could possibly still get away with saying they're non-GMO and just go without identifying which way they are, which is just leading to confusion and fear. But Monsanto, I keep saying Monsanto. Is it Monsanto, or Monsanto? But Monsanto, I'll say, is one example of corporate greed, of course. As they say, Monsanto is the evil seed of corporate greed. And it may appear that the bottom line, as so many other corporations, to their shareholders and, for their stocks and everything, that money is at the root of it, that they just want to make more profits. But it's actually more sinister than that. It's more sinister because just like chemtrails are spiritual in nature because of the fact that Satan is referred to as the prince of the power of the air. So these particulates and nanoparticles and inorganic fibers that are being shot through the air and through the skies every day, okay, they cause attacks more than just physical attacks. It's mental and spiritual as well, okay? Because it comes from the same source. This is a spiritual battle. It's a spiritual battle. And what GMOs are doing, okay, because as I mentioned, they're neurotoxins, and they came out, it's basically under the guise, because Monsanto is also the manufacturer of Roundup, which is a weed killer, which is marketed as the best way to kill weeds and to kill insects. Okay, but what it is it's an attack against nature. It's an attack against creation, because no weed and no insect can do even a percentage of harm, as much harm as these sprays, okay? And the fact that the GMO is a different kind of a seed that once you use it one time, you can't use it anymore. It's done with, okay? As well as altering the look and the makeup, the genetic makeup of the plant, or the plant or the flower or the vegetable or the fruit, whatever is being grown. It is at the molecular genetic level. It is altering it, okay? But as I said, it's more sinister than just, money. And it's definitely not just trying to help farmers and help people with their crops by stopping a few insects from getting on your fruits. Okay, this is when I go back to Genesis 1. I have to go back to the beginning as always, but okay. When you get down to Genesis 1, verse 11, and God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself, upon the earth." And it was so. Okay, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself, after his kind. And God saw that it was good. Okay? The perfect order that God created in the beginning is being tampered with. Okay, it goes back to Satan wanting to try and recreate something through destroying creation. So that's a whole double-minded thing right there. I mean, his creation is destruction. His creation is destruction. What God created perfectly in the beginning, seed within itself to be able to continue to reproduce and reproduce. But of course, the powers that be, they do not want reproduction. They do not want the population to increase. In fact, of course, they want depopulation, and they want to stop reproduction. So it goes back to being completely against creation itself. Being against creation itself, recreating things, okay? Once again, they want to try to undermine God's perfect creation by recreating something that's anti-creation. Anti-creation. They're creating anti-creation. And when you think about just how that affects everything else, okay, of course we know evolution. Within evolution, most people who consider themselves to be atheists or even agnostics, one of the things that they do is debase themselves. It's basically self-abasement. They want to make it out to seem, or they want it to seem as though, life is fleeting, that, we're just a speck, came from monkeys, robots are smarter, that we don't matter, okay? And so basically they have to embrace sort of a death culture, live for death. Because it's all about destruction. It's all about moving on to something else. And they also embrace mutations. They love mutations. They love bacteria. They love things like that, anything that can, any bacteria that can be like a mutation, changing some form. They're like, you see, that's evolution, that's evolution. Even though that bacteria may be something that's killing people, they're just like, oh, well, that's just the way it goes, that's the way the cookie crumbles. It just, the psyche and the mental state, and then, of course, the spiritual state of that person, you have to actually believe yourself to be something that is meant to be destroyed. And that creation is not important. That is not important. But anyways, before I get off the topic too much, okay, so basically GMOs, there are a lot of crops out here, especially corn and soybean. Those are the two. And, okay, so most of you may have heard about the merger that Bayer and Monsanto have agreed to get this, a $66 billion merger. And where is the other? Let's see. Okay, here it is. Okay, well, the deal would also shift what Bayer would, or what Bayer, which among other things makes aspirin and alka-seltzer, is known for. agribusiness will replace healthcare as its biggest revenue earner. But Monsanto's focus on genetically modified crops has put the deal under scrutiny in Europe, where such crops are viewed with deep suspicion. Rightfully so. Still, if the deal goes through, Bayer gets access to, in the words of Bloomberg, more than 2,000 varieties of seeds for crops such as corn, soybeans, and wheat. Bayer has already developed seeds for rice, cotton, and oilseed. So the corn and the soybeans, there's been so much controversy behind corn since the 90s. Corn has been genetically modified since at least then, I'm sure probably a lot further back, but when it was actually started to be reported, it was in the 90s, like around 95, 96. And soybeans, and the controversy between behind soy, soy milk. There have been studies showing that soy has an increased level of estrogen, and it actually lowers testosterone in men. So it increases estrogen levels and it decreases the testosterone. And many people feel that this may be linked to the growing, just this growing phenomenon of the transgender and homosexual identities that we have today. Saying you feel like, men saying they feel like they're being trapped in, their bodies, and that they're really a woman trapped in a man's body. And all of that comes from, well, not all of it, but they're saying that there have been strong studies showing that there is a link between the consumption of soy and the fact that it alters hormone levels. It increases female hormones and decreases the male hormones. And it was interesting when they were saying soy, it made me think of the movie Soylent Green, and then I pull that up. It's been many, many, many years since I've seen that, but Charlton Heston was in the movie. And it says here, and it's actually based on a science fiction novel, Make Room, which of course has to deal with depopulation because of the so-called overpopulation or overcrowding. But this is, I'm not going to give too much away as a spoiler alert, because I do want to read the book and rewatch the movie. But this is just the summary of what the movie is about. In a densely overpopulated, starving New York City of the future, NYPD detective Robert Thorne investigates the murder of an executive at rations manufacturer Soylent Corporation. With the help of elderly academic Solomon Roth, Thorne begins to make real progress until the governor mysteriously pulls the plug. Obsessed with the mystery, Thorne steps out from behind the badge and launches his own investigation into the murder. But of course, quote-unquote science fiction, it's more reality and science than it is fiction, for sure. But they always give you the truth in these movies to try to sway it as something that's not happening, that's just make-believe. But in reality, it is something that is plotted, it's being planned. And, but anyways, but GMO, that represents artificial intelligence. It goes back to what I was saying before about feeling like, okay, I'm so against the Most High God that I'm going to just pretend like I don't even matter because He made me in His image. And so the way that you try to undermine God is to say, well, if I'm made in your image and I don't want to acknowledge you, I'm just going to, diminish my importance by just saying that everything else that I create, like if it's a robot or computers, that's better than the human brain. That's better than being a person, being this humanoid, or this transhumanism agenda that's being pushed today. So that is all a part of it as well. So yeah, the sinister side of it is just basically, once again, going back to the fact that creation itself is being attacked. Creation itself is being attacked because Satan wants to kill, steal, and destroy all of creation. So the GMO, that's just one other facet of this, the lie is just so big, and the agenda is so big, because from the beginning there have been people put in place in these high, powerful places and positions in order to take control of the food supply. And that's what this is. It's them saying, well, we're not going to allow you to have the seed that God perfectly made, where the seed is in itself, because our seed doesn't have anything inside of it. It's bare. You use the seed once and then it's done. And it goes back to homosexuality. And, this is not a bashing video, but this is just the truth. And, of course, we know that 2 men cannot procreate and 2 women cannot procreate. So, therefore, that agenda is being pushed for the same reason that this artificial seed is being pushed, because they want to stop creation. They want to stop the population. They want to kill, steal, and destroy. And, these GMOs, of course, are linked to all kinds of neurological disorders, autism, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, MS, fibromyalgia, anything that's neurologically depleting us and weakening us and basically killing us. Of course, cancer, diabetes, all of these different diseases that we have today, all of that stems from this same source, and it's all for the same purpose, okay? So, diminishing our value, and then taking away creation, okay? And they actually had what were they saying about Monsanto? This was like a recent one, just this month, actually. It says, together we feed the world and protect the planet. Farmers are facing many complex challenges every day that impact their ability to help feed families around the world. Moving agriculture forward means working closely with nature both today and decades into the future. I saw something about, of course, the bumblebees. It's like, where are the bees? Where are the bees to pollinate, to be in the process of pollinating the flowers and the plants and everything that's needed and necessary for, the growth and everything. But it's like Monsanto funds Bee Nutrition Challenge. It's like, I doubt it very seriously, since your pesticides and insecticides are killing them. And speaking of that, they said because corn is resistant to things like Roundup, and that it actually has within itself its own insecticide. So anything that can kill and destroy the neurological function of an insect, trust me, of course, it is going to, well, not trust me, but trust the facts and the evidence, that it's going to also attack and destroy our own immune system, neurological system, every system that we have in our bodies, okay? So, like I said, we have a Monsanto right here. The other day I had my son, we took a picture of the sign and everything, and it's just sad because so many people protested, they signed the, petition. They signed the petition, saying that they did not want the bill to be signed by Obama, about Monsanto refusing to release and to just reveal and just be just straight out honest with the public about their GMO products, and to have clear labeling on their packaging, and yet he sided with them. He sided with them. So we just have to do more homework and just try to do the best we can. But in all things, I continue to say that, we can continue to unpeel and unveil all of these mysteries and uncover lies, but it all still, it's going to go back to who is your Lord and your Savior. Because you see, these are times when we have to be able to pray. God tells us we have to watch and pray. Pray without ceasing, because times are getting darker and darker every day. And truth about the way things work, the way the enemy is organizing this whole thing, knowing that is great, but you have to have a Savior. You have to have a Savior for protection, for divine supernatural protection, for healing, for strength, for power, because you see, God has given us, He has not given us the spirit of fear, but that's what the enemy wants us to be feeling all the time: fear, enraged, and just confused, all of those bad negative feelings. But the Spirit of God, He gives us the power of love, power, sound mind. Love, power, and a sound mind. That's what He gives us. Those are the spirit of love and power and a sound mind, to be able to think clearly, rationally, and to be wise, to use wisdom and have understanding. Those are the things, that's what's important, because He will supernaturally protect us. So that is why, I am just urging everyone to just really examine their lives and to know about all these things that are happening in the world, because yes, people perish for lack of knowledge, but the reason they really perish is because they attempt to make it on their own, to come their own, by their own strength and their own might. They try to do things. But we have to completely lean and depend on Jesus. He will strengthen us, and He will allow us to go boldly and to reveal and to uncover these things. But you have to have Him in your corner, as your protector, as your sustainer, provider, all the things that you need. So that is my prayer for you today. But yeah, I just wanted to revisit that, because Monsanto is right here. Like I said, I'm right here in Hartsville, South Carolina, and we have one here, and I had been meaning to do a video about this for a while, so I'm glad that I finally got to it. But so the merger between happened, I'm not sure, but it should be happening any day, and it's going to be something to look at, since Bayer is it's a part of the food, drug, and health industry, merging with a company that has, pesticides and insecticides and poisons and neurotoxins. They're merging together. So we just have to keep our eyes peeled and looking out and looking as to what they are up to, and try to stay informed, okay? Well, that will do it for me in this video, and as always, I ask that you like, subscribe, and share. Give me your feedback and tell me what your thoughts are, okay? Until the next time, you take care. Bye-bye.